What's up, everybody, and welcome to today's episode with Telemakus. I'm really excited because he is someone that I've had on my radar less long sometimes than the average guest, and yet he just blew me away from the first time I heard him. And the story is actually that my friend Corey Fonville of the amazing band Butcher Brown, he was like, come hang, we're playing a show at Nublu in New York City. And I was like, okay, I'm there, let me come. And I was expecting a Butcher Brown show, to be honest with you. And I came, and it turned out it was Telemakus' show. And so I got to meet you, I got to hear you play. I was really impressed. And I think even then I was like, dude, you should come on the podcast. That'd be really fun. So here we both are now, newly moved to LA. We're basically neighbors here in LA. And man, thank you so much for being here, for being on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you, it's an honor being here.
And for now, we're going to put away the laptop because we got some other stuff to work on. But that's a little Easter egg because later on in this episode, we're actually going to have Telemakus. He has generously offered to pull up some music from his upcoming EP, which is actually going to be a teaser EP leading into a full album of music. I've heard some of it and it sounds absolutely ridiculous. So if you don't follow him yet, be sure you follow him on Instagram, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music. Is it just, what's your handle on Instagram and
just
on
at
Spotify?
Telemakus.
Telemakus, like Telemakus. Telemakus.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, let's dive into it, man. Really quick, I want to thank Casio, the sponsor of today's episode, and I want to thank them for continuing to sponsor completely free long-form music education online. They have been such great friends to this podcast, and I really appreciate it. And they help me provide this incredible education for all of you for free. More on that later. All right, let's get right into it.
I still remember that day when I met you, and I'm a fan of yours and your playing and everything you do. So playing for you in the crowd was really special. That means a lot.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Well, in speaking of playing, one thing I love to do is just to straight up start up every episode. If you'd be down to actually play something for us, that'd be wonderful.
For sure. I'd love to.
Dude, so pretty.
Thanks.
And also, I love that you just played something like, I don't know if that was like a minute long or something, but just when you stopped, I was like, yeah, that's all it needed to be. So tasteful. So I'm assuming, was that an original composition?
Yeah, and then I mixed Someday, my prints, with it.
Nice.
But I've been been overwhelmed lately because I'm writing so much music that I literally can't keep track of it. But it's all just, I think that's what informs my playing because I keep writing and trying to find my voice. I'm big on that. Yeah, every time I'm at a piano, like I'll do a mashup. But I've really been exploring my voice with standards or even just new compositions, just mixing it and yeah.
So what kind of, that's such an interesting question. I love that question in general. The whole concept of finding your own voice, because it can be such a struggle to do that depending on how you look at it. So what is your process for finding your own voice? Are you taking more of like a just instinctual trust where my ears take me process? Or is there some level of actual like logistical planned out, I like this sound, I'm going to try to integrate this specific sound now into a standard? What's your process look like for self-discovery?
Right. To me, playing has become, because it all comes from when it originates, like how I got into playing. But I've come up with this theory lately that the way we arrive at the music is how we develop our voice. I started I started listening to jazz and all kinds of music when I was 5. So that, or the sounds were in my head. And then when I grew older, I started making beats first. So I still had that listening, but I hadn't really sat down and learned how to play until I was like 17. So I was quite late to the game, but I realized that starting to make beats first, exploring production, and then fully realizing like, oh, I can play jazz. Like if I really just learn on my own, and I did that, I just taught myself. But I would always be like, oh, I want to find my sound. But the big thing I believe in is to do it every day, like write every day to develop your sound, and you will find it from your inspiration and like people you play with, the sounds around you. But I do think that your whole life experience, your journey, trauma, your story, all comes into play when you're finding your sound. It all comes out in your playing. And I've been really realizing that lately, that my story impacts my sound. So even if I, when I'm writing whatever, I just look at myself, like I look at my life, I look at how I'm feeling in that moment, and I just play it. But it took a while to get to that point, but I do think doing it every day is like a part of it.
Absolutely.
Some of that touches on some of those questions, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one thing I think about these days is creativity is a muscle. And if you use the muscle once a month,
yeah,
it's not in shape, So doing it every single day, you're working that muscle, whether it's a piece of your brain or whatever it is. So in terms then of that creative process, so, you said you're writing a lot and you're also being creative every single day. So I'm curious, does that usually look like the same thing? Like when you sit down, is it a process where every day you reserve some time for practicing at the piano and then just being creative? Or do you sometimes actually start with a synth, or do you start on the computer with some kind of different product? What does your, expansive composition and creativity process look like?
It's a good question. My whole process, I like to leave it open depending on how I'm feeling. But a huge part of it is creative limitations. I love to get myself in situations that force me to force me to do things I wouldn't typically do. So a huge thing I like to do, like even with my last album on the New Heritage, I'll just write the whole bass line to like the entire song, flesh it out, and then I'll be like, okay, I have to make that the song. Like I will do everything to make the bass line work. And it forces me to think in ways I might not. Like if I were to sit and write chords, it could be cool, but I might get comfortable with, movements I like and chords I like. But if I'm restricted to a bass line, I have to come up with something new, and like it forces me. But I do that. I sit by the piano too and just write and develop that into an idea, bring it into my DAW and Logic, and like start layering synth like on my Prophet. But I love to leave it open. Another part of my story and my creative process is my album, the way I created it in the pandemic. I'm very grateful for that time because I was able to meet so many people around the world who like helped virtually make an album. But I still do that, and I think it's what inspires me. It pushes me harder to work with better musicians. But like I'll get my very close friend Chino Corvalan, he's a great bassist. I tease him, he's like a Jaco like reincarnate, like it's just unbelievable playing. But we've written like hundreds of songs over the years, like 4 years now. I'll just get him to like send me bass lines, and it'll be a ballad, but I'll be like, okay, that's the song. Like, and I have to search for his intention and how he played it. I don't want to just reharm everything, but I love searching for my voice through people I'm inspired by, and exploring my community to get better at what I do. But there's like too many things. It's every day is different, but yeah, some of my go-to ones are some I shared.
I love that. I've never really thought about starting just purely with a bass line. One composition exercise that I'll sometimes have my students do is I'll have them create a bass line and a melody that are completely clashy, that sound terrible together. And then I'll say, now I want you to make it all work with the harmony, sound like the most intentional, beautiful combination. So that's a fun one. But I've never started with just a bass line. So you can say no. You're allowed to say no here. I'm curious, what if I gave you a bass line right now? Would you be down to show us a little bit of your process?
Of course.
I'll just come up with one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see what I got. Keep it really simple.
What note are you starting?
Starting on a C. Yeah. A little ear training in there too. Yeah, so I'd be curious if you could walk us through your approach with this.
Yeah. So first I'm just going to get comfortable with it, especially even when I'm writing, I'll be like, that's tough. Like that's a hard, especially if it's like a 9-bar loop, or I like to mess with odd numbers sometimes, but let me think of something first and I'll show you what I'm thinking.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, I just like this voicing a lot. And the way I think of it, it functions on both that C and F. Almost to make that bass line sound like a melody. So. And because it's so melodic, I like to think of that C, B, like major in the root of the C. I like that in context sometimes.
Love that. Beautiful.
But I'm still figuring out that last chord. I think that makes sense. But I do think a lot about voice leading too. Like not like I'm not like, oh, I'm voice leading. I'm voice leading, but I'm like thinking about that top melody is like a G kind of. And it goes down to an E. But that top note kind of helps in what movements you do.
You did like that? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. It's really, really cool.
That top note really helps solidify. So it's like.
Yeah, man.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So the voice leading of the chords themselves is also really, really important because that's creating more melody.
Yeah, and it helps you get away with stuff. Like some things might not theoretically make sense, but with the right note orders, like I feel like voice leading, you can get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. It's so fun to see your process there.
Yeah.
So if you were actually going to then take this further, I'm kind of curious, what would your process be? Do you feel like you would carry on with the bass line? Are you thinking of the bass line as the main melody, or would you maybe have a melody that's going on more on top as well? Where would you go from here?
Yeah, I would probably repeat it because it's quite a nice melody, and I would repeat it, and then after maybe two repetitions, I'd start finding a melody that works more intricately because I've established this is the melody and idea. And I might start having a melody that weaves through, like with soprano or like stuff like that. But it's easier for me to visualize like how to flesh out an idea when I have people in my head I could hit up. Like I'll hit up Corey or someone on sax or bass like Chino so I can hear their voices in my head sometimes when I'm writing. And there's this like trust we have in each other. But I would say that like and then in another key, you know,
Yeah.
see, like, so now it's starting to, we see that we take that pattern of those chords that I played, those kind of voicings, and then you do it in a different key, like up a fourth, but you start changing some of that structure, and then to D
Teach
sus.
me your new song.
It's your song. Do you have perfect pitch?
I don't.
It's just really good relative.
Just the relative.
But see, then like we see that the structure of that chord, this whole vamp or whatever, is becoming like minor, like sussy, into like a, because the first one is just that color, and then the next one ends on a similar color.
Amazing.
It's fun to think like colors, shapes.
That's so fun, man. And so, okay, next question then. We're diving into this composition, and I think something that I've actually struggled with a lot of the time, and I end up thinking instinctually about it, is just form.
Right.
Form, right? So, because it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm writing something. It's either going to be a classic jazz form, AABA, or it's going to be classic pop form, you know, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, or whatever, you know? So easy to fall into those things. So how do you approach form, expanding something into a larger form? And are there any best practices that you follow that tell you how to expand a form, or is it instinctual, or how do you know what the song needs?
Good question. I was just talking about this with a student this morning, actually, because sometimes in a beat context of like, you know, this new kind of wave of like jazz infused with hip hop, you can sometimes get in a rut of like, I have this sick loop, but like, how do I extend it? What I do a lot is I write, when I start off a project, I'm like, okay, I'm writing a 26 bar loop or a song. So immediately I'm like, I gotta make this interesting, and it can't stay in the same place, but it can, but it should go somewhere, and I have this much time. But it's lenient, you know, if I want, I can extend it. But I do think a lot lately about how I want to capture a feeling. Like say I sit at the piano and I'm feeling something, I want to capture that in the sound of the tune. And when I'm creating a song or producing it, I want it to tell a story. So I showed my student like Weather Report, that, you know, that album Heavy Weather? There's a song on it, or is it like Havana or Palladium? There's like a bunch.
Man, yeah, it's a classic record, but my memory is like not the greatest these days for records, so I forget what song is on what these days.
Yeah. But like that album, A Remark You Made, it touches my heart, because it's like the amount of feeling they put in it is like, each one playing that melody, it's like they're all a unit, because while they composed and wrote the song, it's like they're all on that same wavelength that convey your feelings when you play that melody. And then it just builds. And then Wayne comes in and it's like Zawinul on the synth. But I've been thinking about that lately, because it starts really simply, but then it keeps building with that initial feeling. So I'll take a feeling and an idea, and then I'll start it. I won't give away, you know, the whole song, but I'll start unraveling and like giving more. Synth comes in, sax, or like another layer, the drums cut out, and then everything comes in. But that's what you were asking, right? Or like a question about the bridge and stuff, or like...
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a part of the question, right? Like, it's like, how do you expand form? And in some ways, arrangement is part of that formal expansion.
Right.
And I love your point, because I've heard songs that are like, this is just 1 4-bar loop the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's 3 minutes long, and it feels good the whole time. And they're like very subtle changes, but you're like, this didn't need anything
It
else.
didn't need it. Yep. A Bubbles is the best example of that by Herbie. It's like literally a loop. It's just, but it's 9 minutes long, and he completely got away with it, you know, because he took that loop and explored every option of it. And like, I'm sure he took his time to make the perfect loop, you know. It's like so beautiful. But like Wayne comes in and there's like a synth section. But I like when I do that, I don't like sticking to rules of like, oh, it needs to be 8 bars and then we're 16 bars. Like, it's good, I think, to practice writing like that. But after a while, I think it's good to explore, especially if you're trying to convey a feeling with a song. You should really like almost simplify your melodies to make sure they're saying what you want to say. Because even with jazz and the kind of music we do, it's very easy to start playing like a sick head with like 50 notes in it. But my big question lately is, what is it saying? I want it to be conveying something, you know, to the listener and make them feel something. Sometimes that's it. That is what you need, you know, like actual proof or whatever.
To just like literally sit down and think, what am I trying to say here?
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to, yeah.
Really quick before we keep going, I do just want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsor of today's episode, Casio. Casio has been such a huge friend and supporter in making these episodes possible for all of you to receive these hour-plus long, wonderful long-form conversations about music from some of the best pianists and musicians and educators in the entire world. Casio is a huge supporter of free online music education in general, and I'm so grateful to them for their support. Now, right in front of me is the gorgeous Casio Privia PXS 7000 in the mustard yellow color, which I absolutely love. I've been wanting to get my hands on one of these for a couple years now. There are a whole bunch of elements that make this a really enjoyable instrument to play. Some of the smaller things are things like this beautiful ivory texture on the keys, which makes your fingers stick more to them like a real piano. Even these small little touches like actual spruce wood on the sides of the keys. But even more importantly, the key bed is really lovely and the sounds are great too. And of course, for me, the look of an instrument is really, really important, whether it's because you want your home to look really nice and not have that eyesore of an X stand, or whether you're like me and you actually are putting instruments in video content or in a studio. The stand that comes along with it, along with the attached pedals, is just a really, really beautiful look overall, super sleek, something that I'm really happy to have with me at home or on video in my studio. And by the way, it's really easy to unscrew the keyboard from the stand and just bring it along with you to gigs. So all in all, I'm a huge fan of this keyboard. It's one of my favorites that I've honestly ever owned. And if you're interested in it, please click the link in the description to check it out. That link also gives me a small commission on any purchases you make, but regardless, I think this is a wonderful instrument worth checking out that's just absolutely beautiful, minimalist, and sleekly designed to have a wonderful playing experience. All right, let's get back to it. Yeah, so what are some of your creative inspirations, both musical, but then also non-musical? Like, where do you draw that emotion from sometimes that inspires you to sit down and actually create?
Well, my heroes like Herbie Hancock, Chick, Michel Petrucciani to me is a huge hero of mine. Miguel Atwood Ferguson, my friends, my community too, like Javier Santiago, Chino Corvalan, Dakota, just a lot of great musicians in my community. But that inspires me, you know, when I'm writing. I think lately I'm delving deeper into my feelings and realizing the power music has as a form of expression, even in a time like now where music is what we have, you know, it's our career and we have it, it's almost a weapon to inspire other people, because say I convey my feeling into a song, someone else might be feeling that and it can make them feel, you know, supported. But that inspires me. Lately, I've been spending time with my mom, and she's a painter. She paints since I've been a kid, since she's been a kid. But that's been inspiring me lately because I realize a lot of my creativity comes from her art, and seeing the way she thinks and her process is like a deeper version of maybe myself, but just of who I thought she was. So it's so amazing to just talk to her and even friends about their process and their creativity, and that just completely inspires me.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Thanks.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about is you also, like me, moved to LA super recently.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So first of all, where did you move from, and what compelled that move? I'm curious.
I moved from Davis, California. I was going to school up there for cognitive science, got my undergrad, and I'm from the Bay. I've been there my whole life, but music for me got more intense with my connections and my studio sessions and album and touring, that everything was just here. So I moved out here, and I've just been so creative. I feel supported. I have a community. In the Bay, I love it, but it's sparse, and there's a lot of tech field things that have feel like taken over the city. So moving out here was a fresh start for me to fully pursue my career. Has it been like that for you?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's been, I was in New York, so slightly different, but it's been really wonderful here. And I think something we talked about off camera for 1 minute before was just the incredible community here. Mm-hmm. And kind of the space, like sometimes literally the physical space here, which maybe is a little bit less of a new thing for you, but for me, coming from New York City, the physical horizontal space of being able to chill in this room with lighting, and I feel like I can breathe. Like every breath I intake, I'm space and breath. There's something really just kind of healing about that and expansive about it that I think it just allows you to be open to creativity and open to collaboration. So I've also been finding that it's just such a good vibe. I know that you studied with Kiefer for a while, and we had no idea, but Kiefer did this same podcast, maybe a couple of months ago, and he showed up at the door and he was like, "Hey man, I just walked here." And I was like, "Oh really?" He was like, "Yeah, I just walked here. It's like a 5-minute walk."
Oh, I didn't realize.
So funny. And he lives with a couple of incredible musicians as well. And so it's just, LA seems to be, the signs seem to be pointing towards, this is a really good place to just meet wonderful, creative, humble people who are not in the business of trying to cut each other and be the most technical in history, which is fine if you are trying to be an incredible technical player, of course. Hey, I want to be too, but I think at the end of the day, it's really, there's a good vibe here right now about things being about really trying to collaborate and create. So I'm feeling that in LA too.
I love LA for that reason, because everyone's here and it's so easy to collaborate with people out here and keep writing. But I was hanging out with him a few weeks ago, and it made me realize when I did start playing music and piano, I was primarily self-taught, learning myself around the keys, and I still remember how I can go more into how that started, but I remember Kiefer helped guide me in the right direction, even in terms of arrangement and all of that. But I feel like what really pushed me over the edge was I had a couple lessons with Taylor Eigsti that just blew me away, and it just exploded my head. But I studied with him at the Stanford Jazz Institute.
Oh yeah.
That was really...
Me too, actually.
Oh really?
And I also did at the Berkeley Jazz School, but I did the Stanford Jazz program a couple times. And
so we were with Taylor?
Taylor was there, Ambrose Sakamusuri was there, a bunch of amazing people, but yeah, those are the two that stand out in my head.
Right, you were a little baby too, huh?
I was. I'm still a little baby.
Yeah, I know.
Only in personality.
Yeah. But did he show you because that's a huge part of my foundation, the shapes exercises. Do you know about that?
Definitely. And man, it's funny because so he was on the podcast recently.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I had kind of forgotten that I had learned them from him, I think. And I was kind of doing my own version for the last several years. And I was like, this is all coming back to me. And I was suddenly I actually went in, I had some recordings. I was like, I have old recordings of lessons with Taylor from back in the day. Wow. And I didn't really get to fully listen to them yet, but I think there was one from the jazz school, from the Berkeley Jazz School. And so I've been meaning to go in and like listen to that recording and hear like what he exactly was showing me. And I'm sure he talked about the shapes, but sorry, go on. So yeah, tell me more. What was it about studying with Taylor that you found to be, like really, really life-changing? I'm curious.
Yeah, it was truly life-changing. Well, his support, it was at a time where like I really tried lessons with a lot of classical teachers and like traditional teachers, and I had very bad experiences with. There's some really mean teachers out there who like just slap your hand, or like they just think like, okay, reading music is the only way to learn how to play. But I just remember like going to Stanford. It was my first time, and somehow I placed into the trio one with Taylor, but I didn't know who the teacher was. I don't think they said. But so I walked in, and like Taylor's sitting there. He's like my hero. I'm like, and I asked him like, what are you doing here? Like, you should be here. But just from that day on, it felt like I had support, but like my voice was recognized. Like I felt like I had one. But he just gave me these tips and like of playing and storytelling and like shapes, and even getting my head out of the way that people think you need to learn a certain way of like numbers and like the flat nine. And I know all of that, but it's like there's a point where that can be a hindrance, but where now I don't have to think of the numbers, I'll just do it. But he got me to think so much, like now I just see shapes. And I remember he used to talk about that, but it's opened me up in that way. Like it helps you with your feelings when you play. But yeah, he just told me so many gems that I still hold on to. Like I remember we played Green Dolphin Street, and I soloed, and it was some cool lines and stuff, and it was cool, but it didn't feel like it went anywhere. So he was telling me that, and I was like, okay, that's really good to know. And then he's like, why don't you tell me a story about, like a random story, and then play that story? So I made up a random, I don't know if he did or I did, but I mean, he's hilarious, his stories and stuff. But I came up with like the story of like two dolphins like going down the street, like they're really excited and happy, just hanging out. And then they get mugged. And then that's the story I have to convey with my solo on Green Dolphin. And then it felt like after that, just talking about that with him, soloing on the tune like changed. Like it became like I was saying something, but yeah.
Would you be down to give us an example?
Like
just like come up with a story right now and improvise it for us.
Oh man.
Putting you right on the spot.
Yeah, let's do it. I might do something over like just improvise. But yeah, let me do that. Let me think of a story. Do you want to give me a story?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me give you a story. All right, so
it's a little hard to.
It's hard. Okay, there's an ant named. I'm gonna name him Corey after Corey. There's an ant named Corey, and the thing is that he actually doesn't like to go along with the rest of the colony. So the colony is always doing one thing because it's a very cohabitational society, and everybody's working together. But Corey just really wants to live his own story. So one day Corey leaves the colony, which is like, the colony is like life is the same every day. And then one day he leaves, and suddenly he opens up to the new world, and he's no longer part of the colony, and he's exploring, and he basically just experiences the adventure of what else life has to offer once he leaves the colony. Is that too vague, or that's good?
No, that's great. I just have to recall the steps of it. So,
sure.
Ant named Corey, he doesn't like being, with everyone. Like he wants to do his own thing.
He feels a bit confined.
Yeah.
In the safety of the colony.
Mm-hmm, but he still wants to do his own thing, and then finally he breaks away, and he finds so much.
He goes off and explores. He sees the wonders of the world.
That's a great
also
one,
the
man.
Dangers of the world. But life is no longer the mundane everyday.
We should both do a version of it.
That's a great idea. I love that. We should. We could also do it together.
Right.
That would be fun.
Yeah, let's do one each and then together.
Okay.
Nice.
beautiful.
Thanks.
And I totally heard it too,
He
man.
did, right? It's
Yeah, I totally
it's
did.
like the same life, and then it's like annoying, and he's like keeps repeating, like it's like fuck this shit, and then
And the harmony is also very like kind of mundane and ambiguous at first. And you also felt like ants, a lot of like,
yeah, exactly.
you know?
And then he breaks away finally, but it's scary. And then when he does, he's exploring life, and he's like, wow, this is sick.
Becomes expansive.
Yeah, it becomes expensive.
It's amazing, man. So good. Loved it. And I'm
Thanks,
also appreciating, and not to say that this is always how you play it necessarily, maybe it is, but just appreciating it, how much you are able to convey in short amounts of time. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I don't know
Hell
why
yeah.
I'm keeping it short today.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. That's awesome.
I want to hear your version, or do you want to save that for later?
Yeah, sure. No, I could do one. Okay, let me think.
We do it together too.
Yeah, that could be fun. Or same story, do you want to hear? Or do you want to give me another story and then I'll just do a different one?
Yes, I'll give you a story.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
Should I do an ant story?
Whatever you're feeling.
Okay.
Sure,
This
it
is
can be
this
an
is
ant.
better.
Okay, good.
An ant made me think of like someone's aunt, but I'm gonna think of an uncle. This uncle, he goes to do a play with a bunch of people that he doesn't really like. He likes the play, but he doesn't like the people he's doing it with, so he starts getting increasingly frustrated with it. And it all erupts into like someone dying in the play, and then it becomes a whole crazy thing, and then but some part of him feels relieved.
Okay, good. Wow, that is a complicated set of emotions. And so, did someone die? Like literally, the character died. Sorry, did the
We
character
don't know.
in the play died, or a person actually dies?
Oh no, a person dies.
Okay, like an actor in the play
Yeah,
dies.
like a
Okay,
person.
amazing.
He feels better about it. 'Cause
Yeah,
he-
right.
something-
You said he's like, you know, I'm glad I don't have to go to this play anymore. Right? Was that kind of the point? Yeah. Okay. You know, man, my film score teachers really are gonna try to. We'll see how well they did. If I suck, guys, this is on you. No, I'm just kidding. All right, here we go. Let's see what we got.
That's great. You got it.
I went much more like
dying.
musical theater,
Yeah, no,
cinematic
that's
vibes.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I did my best. I tried to start out with like a apathetic uncle, kind of like he doesn't take any of this seriously at all kind of vibe. He goes to the play. He's not super happy to be there, so he's just like thinking of it all as kind of bull crap. And then like the horrible death happens in the middle, which I think I made a little melodramatic, but
no, but it's in line with that.
Make it obvious when it happens, and then kind of ending with like a okay, that's fine. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, I had an uncle in my head the whole time. I had someone who I was picturing, Uncle Larry David.
Oh yeah.
It felt like something he'd do,
true.
right?
Yeah. That felt
so
like a Larry David.
Larry David episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you feel like you're gonna like. Yeah, is this? Can't remember if this is Curb or like It's Always Sunny. There's like a theme like that, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like could be either.
Yeah,
I can't even remember.
Oh man, that's a really fun exercise, and
Right.
I guess you never really know what's gonna come out.
You never know.
That's
It'll be a
interesting.
Curb Your Enthusiasm one, or it'll be.
Totally, man. So okay, here's a question for you. Do you have any thoughts on like getting into the flow state for when you're doing something like that? Because I'm not gonna lie, I sat there and I was like constantly second guessing myself the whole time
really?
I was doing it, And some days I can just do it and not second guess myself. And then other days I'm just like, I'm on a podcast right now. And now I'm like second guessing, like, does this make sense? Is this like the right musical, iteration of what we're trying to convey here? So I'm kind of curious, how do you have any method, or it's just a sense of, experience or?
I think it's even like inner work, like to come to terms with your playing and like being grateful, like you were saying off camera, but like for the opportunity to play. But that all changed for me, really, the gratitude that I practice. Because yeah, for sure, like I have days where I'm like, fuck this, I don't like what I'm playing and second guessing it. But I realized that after I lost my hands for like close to 2 years, I just could not play the piano, like at all. And I feel like it was exploding in me, the creativity and wanting to play. So just being able to play is like, even for us, for all of us, is such a blessing that I'm like, even if it sucks, it's fun. So I just try to remember the fun part of it and how it's a blessing to be able to play. But I do think it helps being consistent about it. I think that helps the ability to like access flow state more, but also working on your own like stuff of like your image of yourself and coming to terms with who you are. But
Yeah, man, absolutely. And actually that's a great segue, because I do want to ask you
right.
about your experience with injury. Something that I've dealt with a lot in my life as well, and continue to deal with today. Unfortunately, it's really limited me on a technical level as a player. So I'm really curious, because you've come so far, you've gone so far, you still have so far to go.
Thanks.
And you have this musical voice that's really, really unique, and you're just a badass player on top of all that. So could you tell us a bit about your story, about your injury? Where is it coming from? What happened? How have you dealt with it?
Definitely. I love to share about it because it's a personal thing, but it's very attached to my story and I can't hide it. But the whole rundown of what happened when I put out my last album, The New Heritage, I was around 21, and that was like 2021. And after putting that out, I completely lost my hands. Like I couldn't use them and my wrists hurt. And I'm sure as pianists, we deal with hand pain. Especially as a jazz pianist, like the ulnar deviating of your left hand and the technical aspects of it. But yeah, it was extremely depressing to just completely lose my ability to like play and do basic things. Opening a door was difficult, brushing my teeth, putting my shoes on, cooking, driving. It hindered all of it. And I went to countless doctors, and a lot of them, they could see stuff's wrong with my wrist, but they didn't realize the systemic issue it was, because it just wasn't going away. But I realized I have EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a rare genetic connective tissue disorder. So it's something I was born with, but in patients with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, when you hit like 21, 22, that area when you're like part of your life where you stop growing, you know, puberty's kind of over and your body shuts down because your joints cannot take care of themselves anymore. It's a huge part of the disorder, the condition is not producing any collagen. So I produce very faulty collagen, so I'd have no joint stability. And all my joints in most parts of my body are extremely hyperflexible. So my fingers bend too much, my wrists, my elbow, my shoulder, my hips, everywhere. But realizing that was so powerful for me because I'm like, oh my God, this is why I couldn't do anything and I cannot. But it also came with that fear, like, how am I going to get better? Luckily, with my case, I had found a doctor in the Bay Area that completely saved my life, and he's one of like the top doctors in that field, and it's a very rare condition with people just constantly struggling with even their whole lives. But he had these incredible treatments that like changed my life. Replacing that collagen deficiency with true muscles was what I had to do. I couldn't weight lift, but
How is that done? Like, do you mind sharing what some of the
for
treatments
sure.
were? And
Some of those treatments consist of scar tissue like treatment. So I'm blasting some very selective scar tissue out of my body because I produce more of that very frequently. It's called shockwave therapy. And then I started doing isometric exercises. That was a game changer because just on the ground, I'll just like be doing very slight movements to push myself up, to stabilize my shoulder. Swimming is a great one because in the water, your body's weightless. But there's just countless like treatments I tried, light therapy too, and there's this thing called an H-wave. It like promotes like muscle rehabilitation with injuries, and these things were expensive, and it's quite a shame that they're not covered, a lot of them, by insurance. But that's how a lot of rare conditions, what we have to deal with, because it's like insurance companies haven't caught up to this point. But all those treatments combined with me, like I had to do that for months, and then one day I started playing, like with my doctor, systematically. I played 1 minute a day, increasingly, like 1 minute for a week, like a minute 30, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20, 30, an hour, 2 hours. Now I can just play however long, but still there's things I have to manage. But treating it like a sport and like understanding my body completely helped me. But I'm doing a lot for EDS awareness with my upcoming album, 8 Ring Revival, because during that whole time of treatment and losing my hands, I had to create my album because it was an outlet for me, and I wouldn't let this stop me. You know, at that time I didn't think I'd play again. I just thought I was done. So I learned how to play the piano with my toes, and I would put the keyboard on the ground and I would start composing slowly with my toes. I got better at it and I could even solo, but it was a journey, man. Yeah, it was crazy. But I love to share, especially with people who deal with hand issues, my students even. There's a way out of it. You know, I strongly believe that.
That's amazing.
But I want to inspire that.
Yeah, man, I relate so much because I also have a genetic condition that is slightly different, but it's a nerve condition, and it also leads, I believe, to some level of muscle degeneration because my muscle fibers are always firing on like a minuscule level. So we're sitting here, we're chilling, we're relaxing. My muscles are still working when they shouldn't be. Like they should be recovering right now, but they're just not recovering. They're actually, there are little fibril things that are happening right now at that level. So I've dealt with similar things for a long time. I used a foot mouse with the computer for like maybe 2 or 3 years.
That's possible.
Yeah, so I had a mouse. I can show you, like I'll see if they still make it, but I was moving my, with the right foot, it was attached to like a mouse, and the left foot, I would click everything. And that's how I like made a lot of things and made music and did a lot of my work. And then during the pandemic, man, it's crazy. Maybe I can even put up on screen in our podcast, but there was a point where because of this, I hurt my shoulders, and combined with the injury, I, like you, not only could I not play, I couldn't lift a cup.
Yes.
I couldn't lift a cup. And like my mom had to help me get dressed sometimes, like stuff like that. And I also had an ex-partner at the time, but I would shout out to her because she was really just very, very giving and just helped me with so much at that time when I was physically incapable of doing things. But even now, my housemates, like, hey man, can you open this tuna can for me? Hey man, can you help me carry this camera over here because I'm scared of, holding the shoulder. And I'm doing things like you. I'm doing like mobility-based strengthening exercises, trying to regain control over the muscles that I've lost. And the picture I was talking about, it was like during the pandemic, you can see that I've lost over 20 pounds and my face is like very gaunt. So not to go on my own story tangent here, but I just relate so much. And so I guess a question I have for you, I've had my own journeys with this, multiple journeys with it, but how did you cultivate patience and resilience?
I'm sorry to hear about that, man.
Thanks, man.
That is tough. It's just, I think I've to answer your question, I think I've cultivated that, well, truly with support system. And like you mentioned, my ex-partner too, she helped me at that time. And that really sustained me for a long time. And I'm like forever grateful for that. But like you're asking about resilience and patience. If you figure that out, let me know. No, but I do think practicing gratitude has helped me a lot. And now I'm sure there's things that you are doing now that you weren't able to. And like
Absolutely.
appreciating that with a lot more like heart. But I do think that, there's things like meditating and spending time with loved ones and friends and cherishing parts of my life that don't revolve around my music and my hands and my body, and realizing there's so much more to life than just, the things that hurt me, like there's a lot of beautiful experiences, even in LA, that I've had without my condition, so thinking about that sustains me for long, realizing it's more than just my condition and pain, and there's other stories of pain that inspire me to keep pushing on. But the one thing I would say that has helped me even musically be resilient is realizing and coming to terms that the pain I have is a superpower. Like I can embrace it to play with the most intentionality and like put that pain in the note. Like in every solo I play, it's just, I really try to do that. But I've been very honored lately because at each of my shows, it comes across to the audience. And even if I'm in my head, like we were talking about, I'll go in the audience and like people will give me such sweet feedback that they can hear myself and my heart and my pain. Because I'll even share stories about all of that. And for them to share that, it realizes that we can make a difference. Like we truly can if we take this pain and this story, like I said, and we use it to our advantage to inspire people. And because we're not the only ones with these conditions in the crowd when I'm playing for people. There might be people with the condition, so I want to make them feel like there's a way to do it. Even if you can't even hold a cup or brush your teeth, or like there's a way out.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And even if we do still experience pain, I feel like, for what it's worth, we're both examples of that, right? Like we're still sitting here, we're doing a podcast and we're playing together.
Yeah.
And, like all through, for me, it's been my life, like all through high school, there were times where, again, like I had to have my mom help me get dressed and stuff. And I really didn't think I definitely didn't think I'd be like in LA doing podcasts, playing piano. Like when my arms were feeling that way, like I was like, I am not going to be able to be a pianist. But one other thing I talk about is just like mental practice. Like there's so much music that can happen in your brain, or even in the computer, which I'm hoping we get to check out some of that too. Really quick though, before we head in that direction, one thing that's just really impressed me, like watching you and seeing your career blossom, is the intentionality that I feel like I see in terms of your your music, the way you curate your own music, the way you curate who you work with. For someone who's about to try to start off their career or launch their career, are there any specific things that you feel you've done that were really, really helpful, or specific practices that you would recommend someone do? Do you feel like there's a moment that's like the right time to start? What should you do? How should you prioritize your time and your marketing and all of that kind of stuff?
Right. It's a good question, and I think we all are figuring it out as we go. So I've been really fortunate that it's been going well for me, but I'm realizing that everyone has their own development and story and growth. But if I could offer advice, I would say to really, if you want to do this or you want to get good at something, please, like from me, do it every day. And make it a part of your routine almost. And when you feel like you're proud of your own music, like very much, fight for it. Like look for labels, independent labels that can boost you up and that see your vision. That can go a really long way. Even if it's like a small label that's pushing you, but if they believe in you like fully, that can go very far. And it's other than labels, I just think like making the highest quality that you think and you're capable of will really be seen at some point. Like it can spread through the community. And I found that out after putting out my album, and like it just felt like it spread through the community. And I realized if you just take your time and put out something that is worthwhile and you're proud of with intention and feeling, it can really go far.
Do the work for you.
Yeah. But there's no one way to do it, but I strongly believe in that.
That's beautiful, man. That's a wonderful answer. Inspiring, for sure.
Thanks, man.
So before we jump into, I know you brought your laptop. I'm very excited about that. Before we jump into that, I'm curious if we just do a few nerdy piano questions. So first of all, do you have, could be 1 to 3 to even 5 voicings that like, oh, I love this specific shape, right? What are some of your favorites?
Lately, I'm a big sus guy. All my friends tease me about it. I'm like big on the sus. But I've been really liking this one.
Cool.
It just, to me, sus is a very open shape. There's so many possibilities of melody, and even in the function of a song, you can go so many ways. I love it. Like Maiden Voyage is a good example. It's like all sus chords, but you can really express yourself on that song. Yeah.
Yeah, how do you approach improvising over a sus chord?
It's like, well, I approach it with like the chord, the tones in the chord, the scales I could use over it, but I also approach it in this way that if I mean what I play over it, like I can get away with playing over whatever I want. Like I can superimpose something a half step above, or a fourth up, or a fifth up. Or like, I was doing that with my brother the other day, just, I like soloing over G, like it's a practice I do, just G. Over the chord, like just putting Alice shit. I think it has to do with the intervallic thing of a sus chord. But
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Great answer.
I feel like that's one of my favorites. I was experimenting with something recently. Well, it's a fun. And that upper structure over it. Yeah, that one's nice. The last one I'll do that I just started playing recently is this one. It's quite a stretch. It's like
time.
C7 flat 5, C, A, D, B flat, E, F sharp.
Weird.
Yeah, it works in context, but it's a very strange voicing.
Does not sound like a C7 to me, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that weird? Trying to decide what it...
I have it in this one song that I like. It's just a couple chords I wrote with this keys player Diego.
I also want to give a quick shout out here to the gorgeous Selviano Grand Hybrid Piano. This is a really interesting instrument, a very unique instrument, because it's a digital keyboard that I get to actually use for MIDI and production, but it literally has real physical hammers built in. So usually digital instruments are essentially creating keybeds to try and emulate a real hammer action keybed or piano, right? This one literally is a digital instrument with it actually built in. So I find it really, really cool. You open up the back here and you can actually see the hammers up in the corners. And what do those hammers do? Well, they make it feel amazing to play. So I love this. I will hook this keyboard up into MIDI. I'll use it to play through either Piano Tech or Keyscape, one of the beautiful sounding piano sounds on my computer for production purposes. And yet I actually feel like I'm playing a real grand piano. This instrument also has 3 beautiful piano sounds that I want to just show you really, really quick. So this is the Berlin Grand. Here's the Hamburg Grand. And finally, check out the Vienna Grand. I just wanted to make sure to shout out this instrument as well because I've been really enjoying using it. Again, if you want to learn more about this, check out the link in the description. That's an affiliate link for me, so it really helps me and Casio out. And one more big thank you to Casio for sponsoring these episodes. I enjoy doing them so much, and it's great to work with a company that wants to support really quality education going out for free to all of you. All right, let's get right back into the episode. All right, so we're back. We just took a quick break. We let the dog go pee.
Yeah.
We let ourselves go pee. We had some snacks, and now we're gonna do something really, really fun. I'm super excited. We're going to actually check out some of Telemakus's new music that's coming out really, really soon. Do you wanna just tell everybody, actually that camera for you, a little bit about this project and when it's coming out and what people can expect?
I'm really excited about this new project. I've been working on it for 2 years now. You know, after that whole hand, I was struggling with my hand disability, and I had to learn how to make this album in many new ways with my feet and my toes, with, you know, different, my elbows, my fingers, in very weird ways. But yeah, this album is called 8-Ring Revival, and it's going to be out in the fall this year, in October, November. And there's going to be a surprise I can't really talk about, but there's going to be some songs coming out that everyone's going to be hearing.
Cool.
Yeah, but
amazing.
I wanted to show some of those. These songs are going to be on the teaser EP coming out this summer.
Cool.
So I'd love to share the process behind the scenes.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So just to clarify, there's a teaser EP, and then that's leading into like a full album that's coming out later on. Oh, that's cool.
Quite a large album, a lot of songs on it.
Cool, man. Yeah, please like share away. And I think we're gonna do a fun thing too, where you're gonna try and make me transcribe some stuff. Is that the plan?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm in.
I'm excited. This album is special. I got my community to help me finish it. So I got Flylo on it. I got Miguel Atwood Ferguson, Swarvy, Julius Rodriguez, Nicole McCabe, it's Chino Corvalán, just a lot of my friends. So I'm really excited. But I wanted to show some of behind the scenes on this album. So I was going to show this song called The Return of Telly. This is the first song I made after that whole 1.5 year period of not writing because of my hands and my condition. But when I immediately made this song, it just felt like all of it was flowing through me, all the creativity, because I had all these ideas, but I finally figured out a way to get back. This song is particularly special to me because it starts off the album, and I have my friend Amarinder sing on bass. He's a killing bassist from the Bay Area, and David James from New York's killing drummer. You might know about him, but I had Amarinder on the phone one day. I remember I was in some pain and I had these ideas, so without playing, I just told him, "Hey Amarinder, could you play to a metronome and like send me this bass line?" Like I gave him the roots, like the chords, like D minor, and then it goes down, like the minor third, and then it goes back up, and it was a whole thing. But he sent it to me, and then I constructed the song from that. You know, the idea of creative limitations that I like. But here's the song.
Dude, the bass playing is so fire.
It's crazy, right?
Oh man. Drumming too, but
Amarinder is a special.
piano lines.
But this is when I realized I could really play with my laptop keys. So
That's insane.
I soloed like, and there's so many fun little. It opens you up because you can't do what you can do on the keyboard. But
It's crazy that you've created such a high quality of music doing that. It just goes to show, you know?
I like my solo. I wouldn't play that on here.
Beautiful, man.
Thanks.
So good. Wow, I'm really excited to actually check out the album. It's gonna be amazing.
I'm excited for you to hear it. Yeah, I feel like we let me just go through the song for fun to show everyone.
Yeah.
But when I made this, I was almost in this desperate place of having so many ideas in my head, but my body couldn't really allow me to. So I realized that I could speed up the process, and I still do this. Where I'm like, okay, I have 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get the idea, and then that's it. So I like to limit myself, you know, to not get carried away or even get in my head. But here I utilized one of my favorite sounds on Logic called Gentle Sine Bells. And I had the Amarinder bass line that he sent me along with those drums. And then I started tracking chords and I layered that, came up with a melody, strings, some lines under it. But that gave it some nice textures. And the way I structured it, it feels like I was telling my friend about this, like it feels like sometimes a progression builds the song. Like you don't need to really do much if you just keep the progression going. Like you don't need a bridge, you don't need to keep changing things. You can just allow it to just run its course, and that's the progression of the song. Like that's the building. Because in production, a lot of people feel the need, like, yeah, let's get some risers and like, let's push it up. But you don't need to do that. Sometimes if you take your time to write like an intentional chord progression, but this is one of those songs that really motivated me. And I think it was like a domino effect that helped me create the album.
Love that.
I'm grateful to this song and to be able to show it with you.
We're grateful. Thank you so much for sharing it, man. This is awesome.
Of course, I'm honored. I get really awkward when people thank me. I have a problem. Like,
It's all good. It's all good.
I'll share this other song before with the transcription. I think people would want to see how I made it. But I had this my student told me today this morning, he's in like Switzerland. He's a nice guy. But he said he feels overwhelmed when he writes music. Because it's overwhelming possibility. You can do anything when you write music. So I think that's honestly why I like limitations, because it's almost at this point like how I think, like they allow me to build ideas, you know what I mean? If you want to try learning it, this one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's try it. I think you might have been messing with it earlier, but...
Oh, cool. So I did. I got to mess with this. Full disclosure, I got to mess with this for a couple minutes before. Cool. Right. Yeah, so killer, man.
Yeah,
I think your ability to just, the sound selection, piecing together an amazing groove and choosing like the musicians who are just able to nail that. It's just such a mature, beautiful sound. And I hear the Hervey influence 100%, but it's also got a lot of you in there for sure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I realize those things come with time. That's why we were talking about developing your voice, but playing with really good musicians, it challenges you in a lot of ways, but it really makes you better. So I'm grateful that I'm surrounded by people like you, and it's just great.
Well, dude, thanks. I'm grateful too, man.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful.
It's a nice hang.
All right, so full disclosure to the viewers, I had about 5 minutes to start learning this before, and then one of the cameras overheated, so we're actually starting fresh here. But let's see how far I can learn this. I'm trying to learn one of Telemakus' songs here on the spot. What did you say this one was called?
The Love Bomb.
The Love Bomb. All right, let's see. This is tricky. I'm gonna go for it. All right, so I already forgot the key. Right, anyway. So close. Killer. All right, Melody. All right, cool. I got most of it.
I
got most of it. I'd have to clean that up, but
yeah. That's
so just to go over it for educational purposes. For instance, we got A minor 11, right? Up to the C minor 11, back to the A, and then here we go down to an E flat. Don't know the exact quality of it. I want to say, is it E flat sus or E flat minor?
I think it's sus.
It's sus, and then. And I forget where, but we had this really cool walk-up that's like G and it's going
Yep.
And then piano melody there. And then here we have this line. So with that over E minor. And then this is really fun. This is my favorite part. We have like B flat.
Yeah, I like to superimpose that over, you know, like.
Yeah. Woo!
Like, but over a B flat minor.
I love that. So moving from the B flat minor to like the B flat diminished major 7.
Yeah.
Or I guess this is D flat diminished major over B flat. Dude, yeah, what a killer song. Love it, man. Love it, man. Really fun to
it's a fun
attempt to transcribe.
Yeah,
I got like maybe
you did it great.
80%.
I'm scared because like I wouldn't be able to transcribe my own music like that.
You say that, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would.
I have a little outro at the end. You don't have to transcribe it, but it's a fun one.
Tricky.
Yeah, that shit is fucking.
The rhythmic like chord changes like that.
It's like
super fun. I would love to do. I mean, we don't have to do it on camera, but I would love to.
You should transcribe my whole album. Let's do like a video.
All right, let's do it. Today we were just sitting down. We were transcribing your whole damn album. Honestly, dude, that would be really fun. I'm literally not against that.
I would feel like I would learn a lot. I'm like, what?
You should. You know what I tell you? When the album's out, bro, no joke. Come back. Let's just transcribe your whole album.
That would be kind of sick.
That'd be really fun.
Even for promo and.
Yeah, I'm in. Like, come over. We'll promo it and we'll transcribe the whole album. That sounds really fun. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Telemakus, thank you so much for being here, man. Such a pleasure. So much great knowledge that you've shared with everyone. And I'm really excited. I know everybody watching is really excited to check out your records. The teaser EP and the actual full record coming out really soon, if not already out by the time this is released. So be sure to follow Telemakus on Instagram and on Spotify and on Apple Music, wherever you check him out. Thanks for being here. And until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching or listening, and talk soon.